Oh look, Ken K is going to tell you about another Canadian comedy series you should be watching. This one's about cops. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk in recent years about fictionalized police procedurals and the role they play in presenting this idea of law enforcement in a more favorable light than what we see in real life, especially when it comes to marginalized people who are usually at the mercy of law enforcement without even the benefit of having committed a crime. Now, is this going to stop me from religiously watching every episode of every iteration of law enforcement that is currently on television?
Absolutely fucking not.
Sorry, not sorry to the people who make loud declarations on social media about their choice not to support such shows. And I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of, yes, we do have these problems with law enforcement, but at least in the case of the shows I watch, they're frequently trying to address those issues in the context of those shows, and they're not always going to have all the answers, if they have any answers at all, but they're definitely at least trying to have a conversation be started, and I feel like that's just as important as anyone talking about boycotting stuff like Law & Order. Bearing all this in mind, I thought now would be a perfect time to talk about a show that I have definitely found myself falling in love with, and especially since it's from my home country, I'm definitely going to support. And I'm, of course, talking about Pretty Hard Cases, which is pretty much your standard buddy cop comedy setup, but there's definitely differences here and there, especially with two female leads, because we rarely see that in cop procedurals as far as two female detectives being the forefront of the series. And obviously we've had stuff like Rizzoli and Isles, but you know, this is probably one of the first things that we've really had since, Cagney and Lacey back in the 80s. We've got two detectives, Sam Wazowski and Kelly Duff, who have very different ways of doing police work, and obviously there's going to be conversations about how to be professional and when to break rules, and there's definitely a lot of intersections between sexism, racism, ageism, and it's just kind of crazy how they're able to balance all of these really serious issues, but at the same time, kind of have fun with it. Created by Tassie Cameron and Sherry White, Pretty Hard Cases is a co-production between Canada and the United States, and it was originally airing on IMDb TV here in the States, but has since been acquired by Amazon and now runs on the rebranded Amazon Freevee network. Cameron and White's names may be familiar to anyone who was a fan of Rookie Blue, as they were writers and showrunners on that series, which was also a situation that it was produced for Canadian audiences, but also ran here in the States on NBC. Pretty Hard Cases definitely leans more on the comedy side of things than Rookie Blue, and it's definitely a credit to its leads, Meredith McNeil as Samantha Wazowski and Adrienne C. Moore as Kelly Duff, the latter of whom you'll probably recognize from Orange is the New Black. But they definitely have this great comedic chemistry with one another, and it's great to watch how they clash with one another because of their different styles of policing, and you just see how they eventually find common ground from episode to episode. We also have to give a shout out to Karen Robinson from Schitt's Creek, who plays their commanding officer, Edwina Shanks, because she is just incredible at having this whole frustrated quality to her and her personality as she has to deal with Wazowski and Duff as they try to do their jobs, and you just kind of love these moments where she's just rolling her eyes at whatever hijinks the two come up with, depending on what the case is. There is some balance between the comedy and a few dramatic moments in Pretty Hard Cases, as the characters have very complex personal lives, and sometimes that intersects with their work, as we see with Wazowski and her son that she's raising as a single mother, and seeing the directions he's going in as a teenager, and having some of that interfere with her work, while with Kelly Duff we have her, on the one hand, trying to figure out a romantic relationship with one colleague, while another former colleague of hers is embroiled in a bad shooting investigation, and she's kind of stuck in the middle of that as well. So you do have that going on as far as just tension and sort of building sort of dramatic weight to all the stuff happening in a series that definitely is going for not necessarily screwball comedy. It's definitely not trying to be Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but there are a lot of funny things that happen, especially with Wazowski kind of being sort of an outlier in her department and just wanting to do everything by the book and kind of having her own sensibility that seems very socially awkward. And of course, Duff, on the other hand, is someone who's a lot more freewheeling, but at the same time, someone who's a lot better at building bonds with her colleagues, even when she still has issues with others. Definitely not shying away from things like police corruption, police brutality, racial profiling. Pretty Hard Cases has been surprisingly deft at handling these issues, and especially with the season 2 subplot involving a police officer being shot in a neighborhood that has been subject to racial profiling, we do have an instance of a young character that Kelly Duff previously mentored, who, in trying to help the police find out who shot the officer, is unwittingly made the prime suspect and taken into custody. And it's definitely triggering. It's definitely something that was hard to watch and just see play out, because you have that whole intersection of wanting to be someone who is aspirational to the community, but it's tough to do when you wear that badge. And you also see how Duff as a character is critical of her fellow officers who just want to leave this cut and dry and make this child the scapegoat for something that he didn't do. Regardless of your opinions about law enforcement, I still want to recommend you check out Pretty Hard Cases, because it's just a fun show. It's really enjoyable to watch. The humor really works. I think they're still at least trying to open a dialogue about some of the issues that we've become critical about when it comes to law enforcement. You've got these great leads, Meredith McNeil and Adrian C. Moore, and they have a great supporting cast around them. And come on now, don't you want to see the voice of Timmy Turner, Raven from Teen Titans, Twilight Sparkle from My Little Pony, and Harley Quinn, aka Tara Strong, play a sassy up-and-coming drug queen pin? Hell yeah, you do! Hey guys, thanks for watching. As always, if you've got your own thoughts or opinions on this video that you would like to share, go ahead and leave a comment in the section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the notification bell, share this video with your friends and family, and if you'd like to keep up to date on more At Random videos, you can click the subscribe button right over here.